Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Friendship Public Charter School Parent University webinar series. I am Simone Green, and I am the Events and Programming Director here at Friendship Schools. Today, we will be discussing bullying, peer pressure, and making good choices. So if your child is experiencing this or have experienced this and you need some resources to help you and your child, you are in the right place. Parents, we are here to provide you support in any way we can. And just so that today is one of those days where you are able to get some really good tips on bullying, peer pressure, and making good and wise choices. Just a few housekeeping reminders. We will have a question and answer session after the presentation. For those who are watching on Zoom, please submit your questions in the chat room. And if you're watching on Facebook, please submit your questions or comments in the comments section. And then after the presentation, if you have more questions, feel free to email us at wecare@friendshipschools.org. That is wecare@friendshipschools.org. Or you can call us on our hotline at area code 202-281-1777. All right, let's get started. Christy, you can take it away.
Thank you, Simone. Welcome again, everyone. My name is Christy Venable, and I am the CEO and founder of Smile Therapy Services. And we have Ms. Beth Kim, who is our lead therapist at Smile Therapy Services, and we will be hosting this webinar today for you. And just a little information about Smile. We are a mental health agency, an outpatient mental health agency, and we provide services for youth and adults. And so, like Simone said, we'll have questions and answering at the end, and we'll also have information on how you can reach out to us if you need any additional mental health support. So we are going to get started. And like she said, the name of our presentation today, Navigating Childhood, Bullying, Peer Pressure, and Making Good Choices. So our agenda today, we are going to be defining bullying. We're going to give you some key terms. We're going to let you know the types of bullying. We're going to explain some myths and facts that's related to bullying. We're going to look at some risk factors and warning signs for you to really identify. And we're going to look at the prevalence of cyberbullying. We'll also be defining peer pressure and then tips and strategies for parents. You know, how can you all help your children if they're going through this? So Beth is going to get us started. And just make sure you unmute Beth.
Yes. So this is the first video that we will be showing you all today. It is a segment that was on the Today Show called Kids and Parents Talk About How Bullying Hurts. So we'll play that right now for you all.
Everybody has hate and love in their heart, and they can pick which one. To make a bully, you usually pick hate. To make a good person, you pick love.
Hi, Camilla.
Hi, Daddy.
What do you know about bullying?
A bully teases. A bully physically hurts people and does other things that aren't really nice.
It could be emotional stuff, like hurting people's feelings.
I think it's mostly like just somebody making other people feel bad about themselves.
Do you know that I was bullied when I was a little girl? When I moved to my new town, I met a girl I thought was my friend, and she was nice to me at first. She came to school one day and said that she was having a birthday party and told the entire class that I was only invited because her mother was making her invite the new girl.
You know, I grew up with the name Kwaku Moody. It wasn't a name like Mike or Tim or Bill or whatever. So I used to get made fun of a lot. And it would make me feel really, really bad about my name. I used to want to change my name.
Can I tell you something? When I was your age, in first grade, I was a bully. How does that make you feel to hear that?
Well, I was expecting to say the opposite.
Yeah, I wasn't the nicest kid. I was angry. My dad had just really left my life. And so I unfortunately took it out on other people. It was a really important lesson for me to learn that I need to treat other people the way that I want to be treated.
And you're doing a very good job of doing that, so.
If you could say something to a bully your age, what would you say?
It's not cool to make people feel sad just because you feel that way.
If you see a bully, you have to stand up to them and say, that was not nice.
But isn't that sometimes scary?
It might be, but you have to be brave. There's no other way around it, unless bullies are gonna take over.
Why do you think bullies act the way they do?
Their home lives aren't very supportive. Their parents, they just don't have the opportunity to show the attention and love that this kid needs.
Maybe they don't have any friends. They feel like they need to bully to be anything at all.
Do you think that a bully deserves a little bit of sympathy sometimes?
Definitely. They're not always mean because they just want to be. There usually is a situation behind that.
I'm very proud that both of you are not only able to recognize or be kind to someone who's feeling bullied, but I'm even more proud of you for recognizing that the bully deserves kindness too. I think that makes me, as a mother, I'm really proud of you.
Every single person on this earth is different. But at the end of the day, it's that uniqueness that makes us really special. So it's never a thing to be made fun of.
So what can we do to maybe help a bully find that love that you think is in everyone's heart?
You have to give them someone to love. Remember, you lost someone that you loved. That's partly how you became a bully. And then your teacher respected you, and that was kind of love. So I think everybody needs someone to love or something to love. I think that's what it goes back to.
You're making me cry because of how much I love you.
I love you too.
So how powerful is that video? It just shows that bullying is a conversation that needs to happen and can happen early on. We see parents and their children from ages 6 to 14 years old. We even have one parent that shared why he was a bully, and it was because he had lost his father. And he was worried and hesitant at first to share that he was a bully, but he really had that connection with his daughter and the compassion that she had for him. That was that healing moment. So this video I thought was a really good example of how you could address bullying and start the conversation with your own children, or maybe your students if you're an educator here today. So what does bullying in today's world look like? So according to the National Association of School Psychologists, 160,000 students per day stay home from school because of bullying. Now that we are virtually studying at home, it's going to be harder to detect. But if you see that your student or your child is reticent to be online, is that because the virtual format is not conducive, or is maybe their bully? Are they being bullied online, or is their bully online? So these are maybe some questions or some things to observe now that we're virtual. What is bullying? Bullying is an ongoing and deliberate misuse of power in relationships through repeated use of force, coercion, or threat to abuse, aggressively dominate, or intimidate. There are 4 main groups of bullying. The first is physical, second, verbal, third, psychological or social. And for parents that have young kids, this is an addition. This is something that I didn't learn when I was in school, when I was much younger, was now we are facing cyberbullying, which I'll go more in depth later on. Next slide. So the first one, to break it down and give you examples of what that would look like. The first is physical. The bully utilizes physical violence or manipulation to terrorize, humiliate, and suppress their victim. So this would include hitting, slapping, throwing objects, stealing, damaging personal belongings with or without an audience. So Christy will go more into detail what that would look like, but this might be an observation if you see your child has tattered books, ripped clothing. That would be maybe physical signs that physical abuse is happening, physical bullying is happening. The next one is verbal. Consists of any insult, joke, threat, sexual reference, and or belittling comment. So this will include profanity, racial and ethnic slurs, jokes regarding family, mental health, negative attention to body, physical features, threats of violence. As we saw in the Today video, Kwaku Amudi was talking about how he was bullied because of his name. It wasn't the names that were usually at that school, Billy, Bob, he was really fearful of being bullied of his name that he actually wanted to even change his name, right? So that is one example of verbal bullying. The next is psychological and social. Social, being excluded and explicitly overlooked, left out from groups and opportunities. Psychological, using the person's emotion to manipulate and control them as well as others. An example would be yo-yo friendships, being excluded from parties, gatherings, spreading rumors, digging at the person's self-esteem. We saw with the mother who was 42 years old, she still remembers as a kid being humiliated in schools when that child said, "You're only invited because my mom told me to invite you," right? The last one is cyberbullying, which we'll go further into detail, but it's the use of technology and more specifically social media to intimidate, humiliate, and coerce people with verbal attacks, threat to expose, and embarrass. So this includes online stalking, trolling, negative and inappropriate comments, and circulating embarrassing photos and videos. Next slide, please. So 3 key terms that involve with any experience of bullying is target, the bully, and the witness. So the target or victim is the student or child that has been bullied. The second is the bully or the student exhibiting bullying behavior, the student that has been identified as exhibiting behavior that was determined to be bullying. Then the third is witness or bystander, which is the students that observe another student being bullied. This is a TED Talk video that we will not play just for the sake of time, but you can watch on your own time. And it's a TED Talk video by a mother named Tina Meyer. And she had unfortunately lost her own child to suicide due to cyberbullying. And she now runs anti-bullying campaigns at schools. And what she had found was that students wished that they had more peer support when they were being bullied. And she had one student that said, "I would not be here today if my 2 friends did not stand up for me." So it's thinking about how can we address in school and with our children of how they can stand up for themselves if they're being bullied and how they can protect their friends if they're also being bullied. So if they can safely do so, intervene. If they cannot safely do so, get adults support and assistance. Thank you. Next slide. So here are some myths and facts. This is probably myths that we've heard. Maybe these are societal myths that have been placed on us for generations. But the first myth that we would like to bust is girls don't bully. In fact, girls do bully. It could be maybe not in a physical way. It could include verbal and social bullying. And these can be particularly escalated during the middle school years. The second myth that we would like to bust is words will never hurt you. Fact, even though words don't leave physical marks, bruises, broken bones, they can leave deep emotional scars. We could see these in the videos of the parents sharing their own experiences as children, right? The third myth that we would like to bust is bullying will make kids tougher. Bullying, in fact, does not make someone tougher. It often has the opposite effect of lowering a child's sense of self-esteem and self-worth. Bullying creates fear and increased anxiety for a child. There is a woman named Brene Brown, and she does several TED Talks, and she really encourages classrooms to be shame resilient because we cannot eliminate shame as part of the process. Because if we're going to connect with others and we're going to be vulnerable, there's going to probably be moments of rupture that include shame. So, what we need to do and address is what is happening in the household. She had done a psychological study of environments of children, especially siblings. And what she saw was that siblings were bullying each other and there was no intervention. So, what she recommended for the families to do was to have a no verbal shaming experience for the whole family. And that actually included themselves. So if you said, I am stupid, that is bullying yourself. So that was a language that was not allowed in the household. If you're saying you're stupid, right, that's putting that onto the sibling or maybe another family member. So you need to kind of make those ground rules for your own home about no self-bullying and no bullying each other. Thank you. Next slide. The next myth, bullying is a normal part of childhood. Bullying may be common, but this type of aggression towards others should not be tolerated. If we normalize bullying, we are encouraging others to accept that if bullying happens to them, that they should be experiencing that, right? So we don't want to normalize bullying. We want to have our children, have our students, have our clients be able to come to us and say that this happened and I need validation, I need support. The next myth is children and youth who are bullied will almost always tell an adult. But in fact, only 25 to 50% of bullied children report that to an adult. With the woman that I had shown earlier, who lost, unfortunately, her daughter to bullying, she said that 75% of students wouldn't tell their parents. And that was for a lot of reasons. They had said that their parents are not good listeners. They will overreact and make it worse, or they would tell the child to ignore it. They might also, escalate the situation and make a scene at school. So how can you be, as a parent, as an educator, open up the conversation about bullying? The next myth is bullied kids need to learn how to deal with bullying on their own. And I had just touched upon that bullying doesn't need to be a one person, like for the child to figure it out on their own. They need to have resources around them, adults that might have experienced bullying from themselves, and to have that conversation. Thank you. Next slide. So risk factors that a target might have. These might be people that are perceived as different from peers, right? This could be someone that has a name that is not common in their school. Maybe they dress in an attire that is not the mainstream attire or fashion of their peers. This could be their sexual orientation. This could be if they have a disability, a socioeconomic status. If they're not able to get the clothes that are cool, that are the same as their peers, they might be targeted. Poor social skills. Are they introverted? There was a study about offenders. This really was more prone towards like people that robbed others, but they had targeted individuals that looked slumped or timid. So I think about the kids in school that might have had their backpacks and their head down. So that would signify that they were timid and that would make them more of a target. Another one is socially isolated, having a few friends. Maybe they're the ones that are at the lunch table eating by themselves. So as educators, maybe we should look out for those kids. They're overweight or underweight. Those that are bullied might be more prone to having eating disorders or substance abuse. Many more basic premise of perceived differences. Thank you. Next slide. Warning signs that your student may be a target. So like I shared before, unexplainable injuries, they could have bruises on their forearms, their body, frequent headaches, stomach aches, or illness. So these could be exacerbated by anxiety, depression that they're trying to manage at school while they're being bullied. The loss of destroyed clothing, books, and possession, changing in eating habits, difficulty sleeping, insomnia, decline in grades or interest in school, not wanting to go to school, the sudden loss of friends, isolation. So if you find that your child's friends are reaching out saying, where are they? Are they okay? That might be something to look into. Avoidance of social situations, school functions, decreased self-esteem, and self-destructive behaviors. Next slide. So cyberbullying, this is something that is very prevalent in our society right now with our children, with our students. If you can answer yes to any of these, that means that your child can be susceptible to cyberbullying. Does your child have a phone? Does your child have a Facebook account, Snapchat account, Instagram account? The more social media that they have, the more opportunity cyberbullies have to access your child. So what can we do about that? Next slide, please. So why is cyberbullying right now prevalent? So cyberbullying, there is an anonymity to this. 50% of students sometimes don't know who they're bullying. The woman that I had shown before, Muir, who lost her daughter to cyberbullying, thought she was talking to a boy that she knew, but it ended up being another girl who made a fake account. So she, of course, this family didn't know, this other girl did not know that this girl was going to take her life, but she used anonymity as her power, right? So you can protect your child when they're accepting friend requests from friends to just verify with that friend, did you just send me a friend request, so they can protect themselves in those ways. There's a level of disinhibition. You can't see me, right? You can't see me. I can't get in trouble. I can take on any personality. I can attack people without having any repercussions, right? The accessibility. Now you can bully someone 24/7. Not like in the days where we didn't really have internet accessibility, where you got bullied at school, but at least you're safe at home. Now you can be bullied on your social media platforms. Punitive fears. Victims don't report because of fear of having phone and computer taken away. So when you're having a conversation, when you're giving a phone, you can say, if anything happens to you, if anyone is bullying you, please tell me so I can help support you and protect you. We'll talk about if your phone needs to be taken away or what we can do to block these people from bullying you, right? Bystanders. Don't witness the face-to-face confrontation. So you might not know what your friend is going through. They might be cyberbullied and be keeping that with themselves. Next slide, please. If your child is being bullied online, there's a few things that you can do. There are many sites now that you can report a violation. Facebook has this, Instagram has this, Snapchat. Mostly all sites that are social engagement have now a page for reporting violations and bullying, cyberbullying. So Facebook and Instagram will take down sites that violates the minimum age requirement for 13-year-old or for both sites. So if your child is 13 and they have a Facebook or Instagram site, This could mean that they might be changing or altering their birth date to have an online account. So if you know that your child is 13 or younger and have a Facebook or Instagram, check in with that. If known, cyberbullying should be also reported to the internet service provider. So now Comcast, Verizon, they have now phone numbers and email addresses to report these things. Cyberbullying is a violation of the internet service provider's terms of agreement, and the account or parent's account may be closed. So again, when you're talking to your child about having their phone service on a family plan, just making sure that they know that cyberbullying is not allowed and that your accounts are linked and that you might also face a closing of your account. Next slide, please. So effects of bullying. Kids who are bullied can experience effects in physical appearance, mental health, and school. So kids who are bullied are more likely to experience depression. So that withdrawalness, maybe that fatigue, that brain fog, lack of eating, anxiety, changes in sleep, loss in interest in activities, and they can have long-term effects into adulthood called substance abuse.
So now we're going to go to peer pressure. So what is peer pressure? It's a feeling that one must do, say, and or behave in a certain manner in order to be liked or accepted by one's group. So there are various types and forms of peer pressure. So we have negative peer pressure, and that's the strong influence to engage in behaviors and decisions that may go against one's moral, personal, and or familiar values. So that could include bullying, drinking, doing drugs, or participating in gang violence. But we also have positive peer pressure. And so that's when a person can be influenced to engage in age appropriate, healthy, and socially acceptable behaviors, such as getting good grades, participating in extracurricular activities, and joining different social activist groups. We also have direct peer pressure. So this is normally behavior centered where a person must make an in the moment decision. So this can include drinking, sexual behavior, or theft. And then you have indirect peer pressure. So this is subtle or a strong influence from one's environment. And this can include going along with the different fashion of today, or just doing what popular kids do. So could your child be a bully? Do they have difficulty fitting in? Do they look or act differently? Or have they been bullied themselves? Because bullies can be bullied. Have they had any recent traumatic events that have caused them to be angry, such as divorce or death of a loved one? Or have they witnessed bullying behavior, either at home or with friends? Bullying sometimes becomes a way of controlling someone else. So what if your child is the bully? Do not ignore the situation. Ask questions, talk to their teachers or counselors about their behavior seen at school. Ask your child about whether they're giving students a hard time. Be direct, but not accusatory. Ask your child to tell you what they wish their school day was like. Look for clues. Is your child lonely? Are they struggling academically? Really talk to your child. Decide whether you can work with the child directly to correct the behavior or if you need to solicit outside help. So children who bully, they are more likely to get into frequent fights, be injured in a fight, vandalize, steal, drink alcohol, smoke, be truant from school, drop out of school, or carry a weapon. So please make sure you are looking for clues. So what can parents do to help? Empathize with your child. Help them understand that bullying is wrong, whether they are on the bullied side or being the bully. And if they're being bullied, make sure that they know that it's not their fault. Document bullying incidents and report them. Print out copies of inappropriate emails, Facebook posts, online communication, etc. And be a role model. I just read a quote, and it says, children will not listen to their parents 100% of the time. However, 100% of the time they will imitate their parents. So make sure you are being the model and modeling behaviors that you want your child to exhibit. Encourage your child to pursue interests and activities to build more positive friendships. And this can be outside of school as well. Help your child develop strategies and skills for handling bullying. Keep in contact with your child's teachers and staff at school. Contact school counselors and or community-based organizations if any mental health services are needed. Talk with your child. This is so important. We work with a lot of families, and we find that most times parents are not truly talking to their children to figure out what's going on with their children. So cultivate and maintain open and candid communication. Teach them about making good choices by evaluating outcomes. Don't call out your child's faults. Compliment specifically and sincerely. Help with their self-esteem. And monitor your child's social interactions on social sites. This is so important. Nowadays kids can be on social media posting inappropriate things and the parents have no idea. So make sure you are monitoring your child's sites. So some conversation starters. Have you ever had any problems with people on the internet? Has anyone ever bothered you or threatened you? Do you know of any kids who are picked on in school? Or how can I help you make it stop without embarrassing you? So these are just some ways to start the conversation with your children. So other things, bullying, like many other behaviors, are learned and may be the result of interacting with and or observing a parent or family member who bully. Therefore, it's a good practice to be sure to address the child about their behavior when you are calm. Refrain from name calling and using belittling statements and public embarrassment as a form of discipline. Ensure that your child understands that even though they made mistakes, your love is unconditional and you want them to learn to do better. Understand that it may not be what's happening at home, but what they are being exposed to. So people in the neighborhood, their friends, and what's on social media. Your child may not always talk. Observe and listen to them. So offer to drive your child and their friends to events, observe their interactions with their peers, volunteer at their school, attend school events, chaperone field trips, and just pay attention to their changes. This is so very important. And so you can teach your child how to protect themselves from a bully. So here are just some tips. Tell your child, don't respond or show a reaction. Students who bully like to see that they upset you. Calmly and assertively tell the student to stop or say nothing and then walk away. Avoid areas where there are not many students or teachers around. Don't bring expensive things or money to school. Right now we're virtual, so we can't do that anyway. Sit with a group of friends at lunch and on the bus. Walk with friends or a teacher to the classroom. Join activities to meet different people, and always report any bullying that does not stop or makes you feel uncomfortable or unsafe to your parents, teachers, counselors, and an adult they trust. So this is something that you can share with your children. And so an important note, the list of solutions does not include telling your child to fight back. So this is definitely something, that we have to work with our children. Sometimes when we say fight back, it can become a more dangerous situation for our child. So we want to try to take the best route to handle the bullying situation. And also telling them to fight back, this can get your child in trouble with the school, and they may be seeing it as the instigator as opposed to the victim. So let's make sure we are paying attention to this as well. So what is not bullying? So there are many other types of aggressive behaviors that do not fit the definition of bullying. This does not mean that they are any less serious or do not require attention. So you also should be on the lookout for these things as well. So just simple peer conflicts, teen dating violence, hazing, gang violence, harassment, and stalking. So some strategies for prevention, work with your schools, your student schools, help them to create a comprehensive school plan to address bullying. Work with your child's mental health team. Who are they? What is the makeup of the mental health team? Make sure that you're keeping in touch with them. Review school policies, the handbook. It should address specifically what to do and what are the consequences for bullying. Professional development, encourage it for parents, for staff members, for all faculty. Make sure that we are identifying the bullies and targets, and making sure that we are responding appropriately and giving appropriate consequences. And like I said, different parent training, build empathy with your students, have teachable moments to build community and model appropriate behavior, and have student empowerment sessions. I think that's definitely important. So some resources in DC, you have the Boys and Girls Clubs, different art programs, sports and recreational centers, and different programs at the library that you can get your children involved in. And so here is a quote, that we want you just to think about. One's dignity may be assaulted, vandalized, and cruelly mocked, but it can never be taken away unless it is surrendered. And that was by Michael J. Fox. So we definitely hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you all. Please let us know now if you have any questions. You can follow us. We have our Instagram tag, Smile Therapy LLC. If you have any additional questions, we will take them now. And we will see if we have any questions. Ms. Simone.
Thank you so much. This was a great session on I'm glad that you all did this, because of the new technology that is out there, and increase in cyberbullying was very important. And just wanted to let the parents know and our families that Friendship has a strict no policy listed in the student handbook that you all can take a look at and review. But if you have any additional questions regarding this presentation or to our presenters, you can first email us at wecare@friendshipschools.org, or you can call again our hotline at 202-281-1777. And if you want to first contact Christy Venable or Beth Kim, they have a fall session, again, the parent support group that's here on the screen that you can register. And you can also go to their website, www.smiletherapyservices.com. That's www.smiletherapyservices.com. They have been with us since the March when we had our webinars, and they have been very great resources to Friendship and our families. And so I didn't see any questions in the comments or the chat. Those who are in Zoom, we have some attendees in the Zoom webinar. Let me see, we have somebody that's, oh, thank you, saying thanks, lady. This was great and very informative. Anybody else that's in the Zoom webinar. You all, if you have questions, just go ahead and type it in the chat room. Those who are on Facebook, you can put your questions in the comment section. But I have a question for parents who have been targeted by bullying. How do you find balance between advocating for your child and not projecting your past hurts onto your child?
So that's a good question, Simone. I think that that's definitely something that, we find ourselves having to work with parents on, because sometimes you can allow your experience, it brings back and it triggers things for you. If you are seeing some similar things happen to your child or your children. And so, and that's why we mentioned making sure that parents themselves kind of deal with the internal things and try to stay calm while they are dealing with this situation, and trying to help their child through the situation. Because sometimes when a parent gets overwhelmed and, they escalate, then for the child, it makes it worse. And, and because now they feel like, they already are going through this thing, and now, it's being kind of dramatized by the parents, which is the reason why a lot of parents don't report, or a lot of students don't report. So, just definitely making sure that, they're just trying to keep their calmness while still helping their child to work on and deal with the situations that they are dealing with. So it's definitely important. But I think that's why they should include someone else, include someone from the school, include someone, even if it's another family member, to help them out. Make sure they're including other people, especially if it's bringing up and triggering things that, that they have experienced. That would be my suggestion.
Great, thank you so much. And for those who may have just started their child in the school system, you touched a little bit upon it in your presentation about what is not bullying. But my question is, what is the difference between bullying and harassment?
So that's a good question. And I think that they are along the same lines, because, someone who is bullying could also be harassing another peer. And so, but it's different types of harassment. And so now we have to go on, okay, so what does this situation look like? Because is it just name calling, right? And if it's name calling, then how often are they doing the name calling? And then when and where is this name calling taking place? Because it can really fall along the lines of both. Because harassment can be, intertwined with bullying. And so I think it definitely has to, we look at the situation, because all situations are different, because there's different forms of bullying, but there also are different forms of harassment. Because what if it's sexual harassment, right? And so that may not so much fall into bullying, where it may more so fall into sexual harassment, sexually touching another student or something of that matter. So I think it really depends on the situation. However, I think that they both can be very much more aligned to each other.
And one of the main factors of a bully is persistent. So a bully doesn't just attack once, it's
Right.
repeated, it's relentless, and there's probably a track record that it might be just that one student or maybe more students.
Great.
So pattern of behavior.
Pattern of behavior. Right. How you touched on this as well, Beth. You can answer this because I believe you talked about this at length. But I just wanted to make sure we understand, how does peer pressure impact bullying behavior?
So, that's such a good question. How does peer pressure affect bullying? That is a question, right? So, we are in such a kind of communal society, especially now that we're all online, thinking about the trends, thinking about this is how you act to be accepted. So what's really important for parents to focus on is how do we build that child to build an identification that is them, that is not a copy of what is popular in the moment, but really asking that child, what are your morals? What are your beliefs? What are you passionate about? You know, what are the things that you love? Because I think what's going on with the cyber culture is we're adopting maybe trends or thoughts or ideas that are just popular right now that might not really be who they are. So I think that conversation could be really important and enriching is, are you happy? You know, are you happy right now? What brings you joy? And if they're hesitant to answer, I wonder what that is about.
Thank you. And I think you touched on also, any one of you all could answer. We talked about how you did talk about parents bullying their child, how that can, which is a projection. But what about a child who has a friend that is being bullied by that friend? Can a friend be bullying my child? And what does a parent what the symptoms or the signs of parents should look out for, and how should they communicate that to that child's parent that is bullying, that's doing the bullying?
Mm-hmm. So I work with primarily preschoolers. So I guess it could depend on age of how independent their interaction is. But if it was one of my clients who was 6 years old and saying that their friend bullied them, I might encourage that parent to be more physically around the space that they are engaging to kind of see what is happening. Is it making meaning? Does my child have the storyline correct? Are they doing something to tease that friend to bully them? Right? Like really putting together all of the pieces so they can have a conversation. And I would probably invite that parent to call the other parent and say, can we just sit down with our kids? Because what I've been noticing is their engagement and that my child feels bullied, but let's both have the children sit down and have a conversation.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, those are all the questions that I have. I thank you guys again for this presentation. I thank you for this discussion. It's needed, particularly in this space. And so again, if you have any questions, you can email us at wecare@friendshipschools.org. Christy, if you want to put your flyer up so that they can contact you as well. And
yes, they can contact us. They can follow us at Smile Therapy LLC on Instagram, and they can also go to our websites and receive any other information. Right now, we have a parent support group that we're running, so they can go onto our website and get more information, smiletherapyservices.com.
Wonderful. Again, thank you again. And you all have a great evening and a wonderful week. We will see you again next Wednesday at 5 p.m.
Sounds great. Thank you, Simone.